All right, guys, welcome into the official Smart Money segment here for college football championship weekend. We've got all of the general public and where they're placing their bets, along with what does the Smart Money say? What are the professional bettors saying? And then I'm going to give a full breakdown on another site about halfway through this video of kind of different trends and give you guys the full actual numbers on where this money is going. Are there any value bets? Is there any consensus? Things like that. So first, we've got a ton of people, like over 90% of the site that I follow, money on North Texas plus the 8.5 versus UTSA. I find it curious. I really do. I don't trust North Texas plus 8.5, to be completely honest, in their conference championship game. The way they've been playing, I know they have a decent offense, but UTSA has been really good. But bettors are finding the overall value in UTSA struggling to cover that 8.5 point spread. We've also got North Texas versus UTSA, the over, and it is a big number, but North Texas tends to play really high-scoring games. UTSA has been scoring a lot on offense. It doesn't surprise me a ton that the over in this game is also being bet. We've got Utah versus USC, the over 67. This is a Pac-12 trend. This is a USC trend. Very good on offense, not good on defense. And then Utah is a team that can score. The reason I think Utah has a chance to win this game, and I actually do predicted them to upset USC, is because I think Utah's defense is significantly better than USC's defense. I know Caleb Williams is better than any, offensive player that Utah has, but I think they're more comparable in terms of their offense, and the gap is in their defense. But we will see what happens in that one. Either way, the over 67, another pretty big number for a conference championship game. That's a lot of points. You're looking at something like 38-34, for example. The over barely hitting on that, 37-34. Oh no, that would be like 71 points. So yeah, no, like 37-30 would be a push in that game. So a lot of points in that one, maybe. Next, we have Kansas State versus TCU. Again, the over in this one. I think this one a little bit easier in terms of these two offenses, the way they've been playing, the way they've been operating. This is a dome game. 62, not horribly hard for both of them. Kansas State coming off a great performance against the bad defense in Kansas, but TCU has really been susceptible to giving up significant yardage. They've had several games this year where they've given up almost 500 yards of total offense. They tend to be behind in games. This game, a lot of people talking about it. If TCU loses, are they still in? What happens, things like that. I think it's going to be a close game. TCU, I believe, is going to win more of a shootout type game. Ohio plus 1.5 versus Toledo. So this is an interesting one. We've got the general public on Ohio plus the 1.5. We've got many of the professional bettors on Toledo minus 1.5. And it's not surprising at all. The general public tends to follow trends more. They see that Toledo is playing very bad recently, and they're in on Ohio even with the quarterback injury in the MAC championship game. We've got Troy minus 8.5 versus Coastal Carolina. This is another one. There's some bickering right now between, is Troy going to cover? Are they not? The general public tends to lean towards Troy, and this is mainly due to Coastal Carolina's injury situation with their starting quarterback. Personally, I like the under in this game because I don't think Coastal Carolina against that good Troy defense is going to score a ton. Just in my opinion. Tulane minus 3.5 versus UCF. So we got a little bit of a scare there a few days ago. Maybe Tulane's head coach taking another job with Georgia Tech. How would that affect them? It's not happening. He's staying there. Georgia Tech hires someone else. They hire from within. And Tulane right now, personally, guys, I'm going to say that's not great value. I would probably advise if it was minus 2.5 going in on Tulane. In terms of these teams, in general, UCF has more talent. Now, Tulane has been better this year, barely, and they have more momentum right now. But 3.5, I mean, if Tulane wins on a walk-off field goal and you lose that bet, that's miserable. I just hate betting minus 3.5. Georgia minus 17.5 versus LSU. Honestly, I can see it. I could see Georgia winning this game 34-7. The question is, 17.5 is a miserable number to bet. I would like to get it at 16.5. And also, what is Georgia's motivation? They've almost assuredly locked up the number 1 overall seed. You know, they're going to be up in the second half more than likely. I like the under 51 in this game because I just feel lower scoring, boring game. That's the vibe I get on it. But 17.5 is a big number. LSU is not good. They were way overranked when they were ranked 5th, and then they lose to A&M. So I can understand going in 17.5. Fresno State plus 3 versus Boise State. I love it. The general public loves it. The Sharps love it. Fresno State for sure. Very good value right now, plus the 3 in that conference championship game for the Mountain West. And then Purdue versus Michigan. So I would say the last 2 bets are probably the best 2 value consensus bets. All of the models, everyone is in on the over in this game. It is the value play. It's in a dome. 51.5 is not a tough ask. Purdue on offense, they've got a receiver, Charlie Jones, Aiden O'Connell. He can sling it around a little bit. You could be looking at something, 41-14, something like that, even if Michigan crushes Purdue. The value there, and it does make sense, is in on the over at 51.5. And then the smart money bets, we've got North Texas plus the 8.5 versus UTSA. We talked about that one. People not trusting UTSA, both the general public and the professionals, to cover that. Coastal Carolina plus 8.5 versus Troy. So, a lot of money overall on Coastal here. I don't like betting on backup quarterbacks, man. That's all I'll say about that. I don't know how to analyze the game. It's a backup quarterback. Fresno State plus 3 versus Boise State. There's great value on Fresno. And that line moved. They were plus 3.5. North Carolina plus 7.5 versus Clemson. I just think people don't trust Clemson to cover a line that big. 7.5 is an attractive number to take. Drake May, North Carolina. Both of these teams really haven't been good. I think what we're hoping for is an entertaining, higher scoring, close game in the ACC Championship. Purdue and Michigan, a consensus over 51.5. Toledo minus the 1.5 versus Ohio. So you've got professionals saying, no, we know Toledo's been so bad, but they find value in Toledo, because I really did like Toledo guys earlier in the season, but they've been so bad lately. You lose to Bowling Green, it's tough. And then there's just a few teams that I think have good value on the money line. TCU, I don't know what they are. They might be like minus 140 on the money line. Fresno State's probably like plus 135, 140. I would say I feel fairly confident about both of those teams winning, and I think they're good value. Now we're going to take a look at another site and their overall data on where most of these bets are being placed. And here we have some different numbers to look at. So this site I do not use. You can see I don't pay for this site. This is all just regular public info. I use another site that's super in-depth that costs about $10 a month. This site, I think they want you to pay like $300 or something. It's a joke. But you can see they do have the general public's betting, the amount of bets. The money would definitely give us indication on where the sharps are. But we'll just take a look at this and see what's going on here. So we've got people going in on Buffalo, minus 11. Not a ton, but that line has been falling. It's very hard to gauge Akron right now. That is the makeup game, guys. That is not a game for any sort of conference championship. We've got people in on North Texas. They like North Texas plus the 8.5, plus the 9, wherever you can find that. A lot of people in on USC minus the 3 here, according to this publication. And guys, it does make sense why the general public, you can see that line opened at 2. It's down to, I think it opened at 1.5, if I have that correct. But at least that's what I saw. Guys, this is the general public thinking about the motivation USC has, where it's a win and in scenario. And for Utah, obviously you want to win your conference championship, but you would think there's more urgency for USC to win this game. So that is kind of like a a mechanism in our mind where it's like USC has to win. Caleb Williams is the Heisman. He's the better quarterback. It all makes sense why people are betting USC. I'm not saying it's a horrible bet at all. Toledo and Ohio, right now, a lot of money going on Ohio according to the general public. That's not surprising. That matches up with the site that I look at. We've got a lot of money going in on TCU. Very similar situation to USC. They're saying there's more motivation for TCU. They win, they're in. They lose, it's a waiting game. Some people think they're still in. I don't know. Either way, a lot of money coming in on TCU. Very even split here for Coastal Carolina and Troy. Kind of surprises me. I would think the general public would be in on Troy here due to the Coastal Carolina quarterback situation. Interesting here, people on LSU, according to this site, 63% of the bets being placed are on LSU. They're finding value plus the 18.5. I'm not interested in betting on LSU, man. I'm really not. That line opened at 15.5 and it's been bet up to 18 here. I saw it at 17.5. Wow. Pretty evenly split here. You can see this line has come down, so more money on Fresno, but Fresno State opens +5. They're down to +3 basically everywhere. I'm sure you could find, so these are the best odds. You can find Fresno State +4 on some random sports book. That's what they're saying. That's like the best odds, but, most sports books have Fresno State +3 right now. You've got UCF and Tulane. Most money coming in on Tulane. That's more of a heart type of bet. Tulane's been a good story this year, and they're kind of a new blood, so people want them to win. It's understandable. And then we have more money coming in on North Carolina. That's not surprising. Again, there's just very little faith with Clemson and their passing offense that they'd be able to cover a spread like a 7.5 point spread against UNC and Drake May, even though UNC's been struggling. And then more money coming in on Michigan. Not surprised. I mean, Purdue, at this point, about 5 different teams could have made the Big Ten championship from the West. Purdue just won the lottery very easily. Could have been Iowa. It was actually, we were gearing up for an Iowa-Ohio State Big Ten championship, and that would have been so epic and so unbelievable, but sometimes it doesn't happen and things like that. So instead we get Purdue and Michigan, and guys, Purdue, nobody's going to be betting on Purdue here. It's not surprising that people are on Michigan, even though they are -16.5, even though they're, for all intensive purposes, going to be without Blake Corum. People still like Michigan. I do wonder, Michigan's offense without Blake Corum, how sustainable is that? Because what Michigan did against Ohio State, they got a bunch of big plays. They had one long drive. You look at that game, one long drive, and the only reason that long drive, it was a 15-play drive, the only reason that ended in a touchdown was due to a phantom horrible bailout pass interference penalty on 3rd down. So I wonder, without Blake Corum, can Michigan string together drives and not rely on a 70-yard busted touchdown fluke play? I don't know. This is not taking away anything from Michigan. We'll see what happens. And I'm sure they're going to beat Purdue and things like that and make the playoff as the 2 seed. But I do wonder if that's sustainable since they're going to be out with Blake Corum. That's all I'm going to say on that. So those are more little data points there for the smart money. I think I would say the 2 bets that really stick out to me, actually, a Fresno State +3 and the Michigan Purdue over. Those would be the 2 that stick out to me. Of course, it's pretty slim pickings right now with just 11 games. We're used to, I don't know, how many games are there normally? Like 35 or something? I don't even know. But there's normally at least 3 times the amount of games every week than this. So either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.